The phantom slowly, gravely, silently approached. When it came near him, Scrooge bent down upon his knee, for in the very air through which the spirit moved, it seemed to scatter gloom and mystery. It was shrouded in a deep black garment, which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand. He felt it was tall and stately when it came beside him, and that its mysterious presence filled him with a solemn dread. He knew no more, for the spirit neither spoke nor moved. "I am in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come. You are about to show me shadows of the things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Is that so, spirit?" The upper portion of the garment was contracted for an instant, as if the spirit had inclined its head. That was the only answer he received. "Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear you company, and do it with a thankful heart. Lead on, spirit. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me, I know. Lead on." The phantom moved away as it had come toward him. Scrooge followed in the shadow of its dress. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city rather seemed to spring up about them, and encompass them of its own act. But there they were, in the heart of it, among the merchants, who hurried up and down, and chinked the money in their pockets, and conversed in groups, and looked at their watches, and so forth. The spirit stopped beside one knot of men. Observing that the hand was pointed towards them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk. "No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead." "When did he die?" "Last night, I believe." "Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die." "God knows." "What has he done with his money?" "I haven't heard. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know. It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life I don't know of anyone to go to it. Well, suppose we make up a party and volunteer." "I don't mind going if a lunch is provided." The phantom glided on into a street. Its finger pointed to two persons meeting. Scrooge listened again. He knew these men. They were men of business, very wealthy and of great importance. He had made a point always of standing well in their esteem. In the business point of view, that is, strictly in the business point of view. "How are you?" said one. "How are you?" returned the other. "Well," said the first, "Old Scratch has got his own at last, eh?" "So I'm told," returned the second. "Cold, isn't it? Seasonable for Christmas time. You're not a skater, I suppose?" "Oh, no, something else to think of. Good morning." Not another word. That was their meeting, their conversation, and their parting. They left the busy scene, and went into an obscure part of town, where Scrooge had never penetrated before, although he recognized its situation and its bad repute. The ways were foul and narrow, the shops and houses wretched, the people half-naked, drunken, slipshod, ugly. Alleys and archways, like so many cesspools, disgorged their offences of smell and dirt and life upon the straggling streets, and the whole quarter reeked with crime, with filth and misery. Far in this den was a low-browed, beetling shop. Sitting in among the wares he dealt in was an old rascal, two women with heavy bundles, and a boy. "Let the charwoman be the first, and then the laundress, and then the undertaker's boy. My, what a chance we three have all met here. How goes the day, Joe? We're all suited to our calling, Mrs. Dilbert."
"Well, Mrs. Dilbert, every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did."
"That's true indeed. No man more so."
"Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose?"
"No, indeed."
"If he wanted to keep them after he was dead, a wicked old screw, why wasn't he natural in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have someone to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying gasping out his last there, alone, by himself."
"It's the truest word that ever was spoke."
"Open that bundle, old Joe, and let me know the value of it. Now speak plain, it's no shame."
"Only if we get caught." "No, ladies. Mine first. It's the smallest."
"Let's see. a seal or two, a pencil case, a pair of sleeve buttons, and a brooch of no great value. 7 shillings. Who's next? Mrs. Dilbert. Let's see. Sheets and towels, a little wearing apparel, 2 old-fashioned silver teaspoons, a pair of sugar tongs, and a few boots. That's your account. Don't ask me for another penny. I always give too much to the ladies. It's a weakness of mine.
And now undo my bundle, Joe.
What do you call this? Bed curtains? You don't mean to say you took them down, rings and all, with him lying there?
Yes, I do. Why not?
You were born to make your fortune. His blankets?
Who else do you think? He isn't likely to take cold without them, I dare say.
His nightshirt? I hope he didn't die of anything catching.
Don't you be afraid. I ain't too fond of his company that I'd loiter about him for such things if he did. Ah, you may look through that shirt till your eyes ache, but you won't find a hole in it, nor a threadbare place. It's the best he had, and a fine one too. They'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me, putting it on him to be buried in. Someone was fool enough to do it, but I took it off again. He can't look uglier than he did in that one.
Scrooge listened to this dialogue in horror.
This is the end of it, you see. He frightened everyone away when he was alive, to profit us when he was dead.
When old Joe, producing a flannel bag with money in it, told out their several gains upon the floor.
"Spirit,"
said Scrooge, shuddering from head to foot. He recoiled in terror, for the scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay something covered up. The room was very dark, too dark to be observed with any accuracy. A pale light fell straight upon the bed, and on it, plundered and bereft, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of a man.
If this man could be raised up now, what would be his foremost thoughts? Avarice, hard-dealing, griping cares. They have brought him to a rich end, truly. No, Spirit, I understand what you want me to do, and I'd do it if I could, but I have not the power, Spirit. I have not the power. Spirit, this is a fearful place. I beg, if there is any person in this town who feels emotion caused by this man's death, show that person to me, Spirit, I beseech you.
The phantom revealed a room where a mother and child hurried to the door to meet her husband, a man whose face was careworn and depressed, though he was young.
Is it good or bad?
Bad.
We are quite ruined.
No, there is hope yet, Caroline.
If he relents, there is. Nothing is past hope, if such a miracle has happened.
He is past relenting. He is dead.
To whom will our debt be transferred?
I don't know. But before that time we shall be ready with the money, and even though we were not, it would be bad fortune indeed to find so merciless a creditor in his successor. May we sleep tonight with light hearts, Caroline.
I never thought a death could bring so much happiness.
Let me see some tenderness connected with the death spirit.
The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his feet. Scrooge looked here and there to find himself, but nowhere was he seen. They entered poor Bob Cratchit's house, the dwelling he had visited before, and found the mother and the children seated around the fire, quiet, very quiet. The noisy little Cratchits were as still as statues.
And he took the child, and set him in the midst of them.
Where have I heard those words? I have not dreamt them. Why does she not go on?
The colour hurts my eyes. They're better now. It makes them weak by candlelight. I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home for the world. It must be near his time. Past it, rather. But I think he has walked a little slower than he used to these past few evenings, Mother. I have known him to walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulders very fast indeed. And so have I, often. But he was very light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble. And there is your father at the door. The cemetery you went today, then, Robert?
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child, my little child. I met Scrooge's nephew in the street. Oh, the pleasantest spoken gentleman you've ever heard. And I told him about our boy. Do you know what he said?
What did he say, dear?
I am heartily sorry, Mr. Cratchit, and heartily sorry for your good wife. If I can be of any service to you in any way, he said, giving me his card, that's where I live. Pray come to me. Now, it wasn't for the sake of anything he might be able to do for us, as much for his kind way, that this was quite delightful. It really seemed as if he had known our Tiny Tim, and felt with us.
I am sure he's a good soul.
You would be sure of it, my dear, if you had spoke to him. I shouldn't be at all surprised, mark what I say, if he got Peter a better situation. But however and whenever we part from one another, I am sure we shall none of us forget poor Tiny Tim, shall we, or this first parting that there was among us?
Never, father.
And I know, my dears, that when we recollect how patient and how mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel easily among ourselves and forget poor Tiny Tim in doing it.
Of course we won't, my dear. No, never, father.
I am very happy. I am very happy.
Spirit, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I don't know how. Tell me, what man was that whom we saw lying dead? This court through which we hurry now is where my place of occupation is, and has been for a length of time. Oh, I see the house. Let me behold what I shall be in days to come. My house is yonder. Why do you point away? The churchyard.
The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. He advanced towards it, trembling. The phantom was exactly as it had been, but he dreaded he saw new meaning in its solemn shape.
Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they shadows of the things that may be only? Men's actions determine certain ends if they persist in them, but if their actions change, the ends change too. Say it is thus with what you show me. Am I the man who lay upon the bed?
Ebenezer Scrooge!
No, Spirit, oh no, Spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Good Spirit, your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I yet may change these shadows that you have shown me, be an altered life. I will honour Christmas in my heart, and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirit of all three shall thrive within me. I will not shut out the lessons they teach. Oh, tell me that I may sponge away the writing on this stone.
Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost.